Well, too bad we can't start this podcast with the sad trombone because the Sixers have been eliminated in the first round of the postseason. 118-115, another tight, close game with the New York Knicks. Comes down to a possession or two here or there. 4-2. They are ousted with a mixed crowd once again in South Philly as all the things that the Sixers tried to do and buying tickets, Michael Rubin and Dave Adelman, Josh Harris, uh, all buying tickets, dispersing them through the city. Ben, none of that worked as the Sixers fall here in disappointing fashion. The Philly sports doldrums have returned. And time to say goodbye to a few players on this team. A lot of them will be a much different roster next season. But let's talk about this game and how it went down. Knicks started the game on a 33-11 run. Sixers were down 22 points, Ben. Had to come all the way back. Compliments of Buddy Hield. He outscored the Knicks as a team in that second quarter, 17-15. But all that for naught doesn't mean a thing. Took Buddy Hield out of mothballs and stuck him in the lineup. But none of it mattered as the Sixers are losers once again and back to the drawing board.
Well, it is the end of the season, and it's rough. It stinks. But I will say I will commend the Sixers. And I'm not big on moral victories, but I'm thankful.
You want to say something positive here?
I'm thankful they showed some fight when they were down 40-5 in the first quarter. like when they were down 40-5, it was like, oh, I guess we're all going to sleep early tonight. It seemed like they didn't want to be there. They fought and they clawed their way back. They went into halftime with their lead. So it didn't end like the last 5 quarters of a season ago in Game 6 and Game 7 against the Celtics. It didn't end like Games 5 and 6 against the Heat 2 years ago. So I'm thankful for that. It was a close game at the end. They fought. I would say for 3 quarters, Embiid played the way I would have loved him to play. I'm going to stick with the positives for now. Buddy Hield came back from the grave, and I think he dropped 20 points. It definitely felt like it. So I'm thankful they showed some fight. They showed some heart. Tyrese Maxey got it going in the fourth quarter after just not having that good of a game for the first 3 quarters. So those are the positives. I commend them for that, even though the Sixers lost. It's going to be a long off season. Got to figure out ways to get better, especially with the Embiid-less minutes. But for now, I told you and Amy I thought the Knicks would win in 7. They did it in 6. They didn't go out like chumps, and they didn't go out like suckers at the end of the game. They fought back, so I appreciate that.
You know what? I'm thankful for you saying that. I do not subscribe to half of the things you said, but I'm happy that you said them.
Really?
Bro, I mean, how many more years can we stomach this almost but not quite? I mean, it's hard.
Whoa.
Yeah, go ahead.
This wasn't almost. I wouldn't even say this was almost. This is the first round exit.
Well, it was almost, halfway through the season when Embiid looks like he's about to win another MVP. Maxey's, breaking out of his shell, or even not even shell, but improving on even more so on what he was able to do last season. There was good momentum. A lot was happening. Things were trending their way. And then all of a sudden the wheels fall off when Embiid gets injured. DeAnthony Melton's injury definitely affected them. And this was a very small, tight playoff rotation. I think this was a game where I felt the sentiment of why so many people say that the Sixers have a more talented team than the Knicks, because I felt like talent-wise, because they were kind of performing, with Buddy Hield coming off the bench, like he was doing more of what you expect from him. Joel was consistent. The difficult thing is they didn't get anything from Tobias Harris, Kyle Lowry, Paul Reed, or even Maxey for quite a long time. Like they all combined for 0 points or 2 points, because Maxey had 2 points. They all combined for like 2 points, like halfway through the third quarter. Like it was pretty crazy to see, that type of thing happening, and it just really reiterated and confirmed what Nick Nurse said in his pregame comments, that nothing matters. Like it doesn't matter if Joel gets 50, we still have to like hold on to win. They out rebound us, we out rebound them, we lose, they win. Like, it just, nothing matters. Like, the series has gone none of the ways people predicted. They have a 6-point lead with 30 seconds to go. The Sixers come back and win in overtime. Like, nothing matters. It doesn't matter. And it felt that way because those dudes didn't show up or had horrible games, but yet the Sixers were still in front. In that third quarter, the Knicks showed the most heart. They showed the most desire, showed the most want to. Again, the rebounding, Josh Hart, Isaiah Hartenstein, they just have a knack for getting to those balls. And OG Anunoby,
Josh Hart is the ultimate role player. Like, there's not a thing.
If he played
you
for the
can ask
Sixers,
of him that
they would have a shrine to him with the energy and effort that he puts out there.
So, a couple of the guys you named, like, I'm not shocked by the Tobias Harris game. I am
shocked though. He had 19 last game. I thought that maybe he had shaken off some of the inconsistency. It might show up here, particularly in the do or die game.
What our man Dennis Green said, rest in peace. They are who we thought they are.
Yeah, they are who we thought they were. Yeah.
Tobias is the exact player I thought 5 years ago or 6 years ago when the Sixers traded for him, 5 years ago when I started this job. It's who he is. And I've accepted it. I wish more people would accept it. Kyle Lowry, I was happy I got to see more campaign tonight than Kyle Lowry. And it was another non-great game for him. I think he's had 0 points in back-to-back games. So that's not encouraging. The Paul Reed, like, people are fans of him because he plays here in Philadelphia. He has a cool nickname. He doesn't really offer much. And like he had an easy dunk where he just mishandled the pass and like that turned it. I think it ended up being a turnover. The Maxey having the slow first 2.5, 3 quarters was frustrating. But Buddy Hield did a lot.
They still had a chance to win the game, even with all that. Paul Reed, he just doesn't even need to be on the floor. Like, the moment was way too big for him. He looked
without a doubt.
Looked super shook. And Buddy Hield, like, this is his first playoff appearance. Didn't play at all last game. Like, this dude was in mothballs. Like, he didn't play in 2 games. Two games he hadn't seen the court. But they take him out of mothballs, and all he asks him to do is what he's good at. Like, hit threes, hit open threes.
Shoot the ball. Buddy Hield, Kelly Oubre Jr., Nick Batum, that was more than I think you could have ever imagined getting from those 3 role players. Maxey, it just took too long for him to get going, and I think Embiid has to have a better fourth quarter. The MVP has to have a better fourth quarter than that. 1 field goal, 2 foul shots, fouled out late, right towards the end of the game. But you're the MVP, you got to have the best quarter. Take those open shots, stop trying to draw fouls, fall into the ground. Those are things that need to change.
Yeah, it's weird because it felt like that little baby hook that he had a few times. It felt like he could get that shot every time he was had single coverage on him. Like, of course, you get double teamed, you don't have that same opportunity, but it felt like
I saw you tweet that.
He could have got that shot every time down the floor, and it was confusing because he's going into his bag of tricks so often where I felt like he had like a straight line opportunity a few times to like get to the basket, or he's definitely hunting for fouls and things like that, but sometimes it's simpler than it appears. And I wish that Embiid had it felt like it could have been a 50-point game if you really wanted it to be. Free throw line though, so go ahead.
Just better in the fourth quarter. In this series, he was 23% from the field, 11% from 3 in the fourth quarter. That's not good. And we had the conversation, like, he looked good the first 3 quarters. Last we had the conversation. You said he's injured. I said, name a playoff series where he hasn't been injured. Just have to perform better. That's just not excusable.
Yeah, you remember when OG Anunoby had that big dunk coming down the paint? Joel was in position to do something about it, but he just has no lift, bro. He just can't really get off the floor. And I will give you that point that the culmination, the cumulative numbers of his postseasons don't bode well, particularly with the ridiculousness that he played through in the regular season. Like he puts up these crazy regular season numbers, but isn't quite there in the postseason. But him being injured, like the fourth quarter, he's just not. He's gassed. He doesn't have as much left in the tank. He was dealing with the Bell's palsy. It's just tough to expect him to be the same player when he doesn't have that lift. So I can't look at that as like, oh, this is the reason why they lost. I just feel like both.
I'm not saying it's the reason why.
Yeah.
I'm saying it's a contributing factor, and it's not a small sample size anymore.
It's not, but he's hurt. Like he just the way the human body works, as time goes on, he's going to wear down. Like it's just, but they can't win without him. Like clearly, because whoever's behind him, Paul Reed, Mo Bamba, just aren't good enough. And Nick Nurse shows some reluctance to go with that small ball lineup because he probably thinks that they'll get even abused more on the boards. But
I saw Giannis hyperextend his knee in the conference finals a few years ago. No one was sure he would play in the finals. And after losing the first two games, carry his team, also given a 50-piece and a finals clinching victory. Like, injuries are a part of the game. Unfortunately for Embiid, it's more often than other people. But if you're good enough to go out there and drop 50 points, have a 35-point game, the injury, you can't use that as an excuse.
Okay, but he had 39 tonight, and what did the rest of the team have, especially the players that they needed to step up?
There's blame to go around for everyone. I don't have to go on Tobias Harris because we don't need to go down that road again. But
we will be going down that road because this was probably
his last game. That was his
last game we'll ever see him in a Sixers jersey. He goes 29 minutes in a donut.
Just 2 shot attempts.
Just doo-doo, just straight doo-doo, man. just so indicative of the way that his last couple of months have been. He hasn't looked good out there for several months, and the playoffs were no different.
All 5 years.
It's weird, Nick Nurse just kind of still going to the well at Tobias Harris. I felt like Batum should have been out there more. It just I don't know, man.
That closing lineup probably should have been Embiid, Batum, Hield, Oubre, and Maxey.
I feel like it was Batum out there to close the game, but
to close the game, but like the last 7 minutes of the game should have been those 5.
Yeah, once Tobias missed that little bunny jumper, it just like the Sixers ended up getting the rebound, but it just felt like he was just worthless out there. I mean, he's not bringing anything defensively or anything else, but a tough loss for these 76ers. Let's pay some bills because that is what we do. We are proudly brought to you by Wilmington University. Find your higher education home at Wilmington University, where your academic success is celebrated by a caring community. Explore your opportunities at wilmu.edu. Celebrity cook Steve Martirano brings his Italian-American cooking back home to Philly. Enjoy Martirano's Prime at Rivers Casino and Steve's famous meatballs with Sunday gravy, prime steaks, and more. Make reservations for Martirano's Prime on Open Table. Back here on the Sixers Talk podcast, Ben Simmons, last game as a 76er, 2 for 4 from the floor, 5 points. Harris, Tobias, 0 for 2, 0 points. And there you have it. The end of an era. Toby, man, it's a shame he had to go out so sad. Type of guy that he's a good dude, man, but just didn't have what it took to really thrive here in Philadelphia. And it's going to be very interesting what this roster looks like next season, Ben, because the Sixers lost in the first round. Paul Reed's contract, the last 2 years of his deal are now non-guaranteed. So the Sixers have the option of moving on from him. Of course, litany of one-year deals up and down the roster with Campaign, Kelly Oubre, DeAnthony Melton's contract is up. They got to sign Tyrese Maxey. Joel Embiid is really the only guaranteed contract on the roster heading into next season. So all this cap space, and it's going to be time for them to make some decisions that support this team moving on past the second round of the playoffs And I'm starting to think it can't even happen. I'm confused as to how and why and where this all comes together. But help me make sense of it, Ben. Can this come together? Can they finally put together a winning team that can contend legitimately?
I think it's possible. I won't say anything is impossible. You have to make smart decisions. Can't just be handing out max or near max contracts to guys who never even sniffed the All-Star game, like was done 5 years ago. You have to sign players that want to compete. We had one here. He left. He's been the 2 finals since. Like
Jimmy Butler?
Yeah. I was trying to go without saying names. The front office, all involved, have to make smart decisions. I'm okay with bringing Kelly Oubre back. I think whatever happens, first dominoes to fall is to see what Maxey signs for and to see if they get a third big star, because I know that's something that
Maxey, he's getting the max.
Yeah.
Daryl
so Morey
like
wants.
193 million, I think it is.
Yeah,
I think
that's something that Daryl Morey wants, the front office wants. But outside of Paul George, I can't think of who are the free agents off the top of my head. So
LeBron, he's out there, but I don't know if he's not leaving LA, right?
I think his press conference the other night was to put pressure on the Lakers. I would be surprised if he leaves LA. But we'll see who drafts his son.
And it's easy to throw Paul George out there because he will be a marquee free agent, but I just don't see a scenario where he leaves his hometown. I also do see a scenario where some of these marquee free agents like Reed or LeBron, who we mentioned, just try to use the Sixers for leverage, as we've seen in the past, because they have a bunch of money to spend. So it's kind of where we are, man. I'm very bummed out because I thought there would be a Game 7 Saturday. There was ample opportunity for the Sixers to steal this one. Again, the combined points in these 6 games between the two teams, when you add it all up, the Knicks scored one more point than the 76ers. But that's all that matters. That's all that needed to be done. And you mentioned Oubre as someone you would bring back. Is there anyone else you would bring back? Would Buddy Hield? Has he grown? Grown on you some space?
There's guys I will want back. Are they going to take like vet minimums if the Sixers pursue another a max player? I'm okay with Buddy Hield. Was a little soured on him. Tonight's game 6, did a lot to turn that around. He was the acquisition at the trade deadline that was supposed to be just a bucket getter, and for 5 of the 6 games,
he's not a starter. I don't know if I need him, but
I think it's nice to have someone come off the bench that can get you buckets.
That'd be a big pay cut for him. So I don't even.
It would be a big pay cut, but I think most of these players I'm naming, I think it would probably be a big pay cut for them to come back.
I got the salaries right here. Buddy Hield made just under $20 million this past season. So to come in for a vet minimum, it's asking a lot. But I'd get rid of all of them, man.
Get rid of all of them. Wow.
Tyrese Maxey, Embiid, and then whoever else they decide to add to the roster. But do you feel like you're comfortable Daryl Morey making these choices, and maybe some criticism there with the roster they built around Embiid and Maxey? Do you feel like
whether I'm comfortable or not is irrelevant.
Huh?
I just have to accept it. It's when people watch the NFL draft, I'm always amazed, and they ask why. I compare it to your mother going grocery shopping as a kid. You stuck with whatever she picked up at the store, whether you like it or not. So whoever Daryl Morey signed or trades for this offseason, Sixers fans were stuck with it, whether we like it or not. Last 5 years, I was stuck cheering for Tobias Harris, whether I liked it or not. He was on the team. I'm not as high on Daryl Morey as when he first got here. I think he's been living off past success for a long time. I think there's a lot of people in the NBA that's doing that. So, but Sixers will have $50 million in cap space, so it'll be very interesting to see how this plays out and see what he does with it.
Yeah, we'll bring back Oubre. I feel like he brings athleticism and intensity the Sixers are lacking. Probably need more players like Oubre, but we will see how it all plays out. I am confident in Daryl Morey bringing the roster together. I mean, you can't do anything about the injuries, and you can't do anything about who shows up and who doesn't, because that's up to the players. And they just were not good enough to beat the Knicks. But we'll be watching the rest of this postseason from home like the rest of the 76ers. You want to get one in real quick before we go?
No, I'm good.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, Cancun. So
I'm not going to Cancun.
Well, we're sending the Sixers off to Cancun and all the front office people so they can regroup. Sad to go out like this again on your home floor. Don't forget they had a chance to close out the Celtics in South Philly Game 6. That didn't happen. The Hawks. Here we are with the Knicks celebrating on our home floor. So thanks for listening and watching the Sixers Talk podcast, brought to you by Wilmington University. WilMU Works. We'll do another season recap sit down situation probably next week sometime with Amy and Noah. But that's it. Good season. Sixers fall short, taking on the chin, a 3-point loss, eliminated 4 games to 2. We'll see you next time.